Lesson 2. In this lesson of Final Cut Pro 10, we're going to learn about scrubbing, editing tools, the arrow tool, the blade tool, the zoom tool, etc. Now, where we were last time, we'd brought our event into the event library. We'd brought it also into our project file. So we had a project labelled, our event labelled, and we were ready to start working with our footage. You have this little symbol that looks like a guitar pick. We can scrub back and forwards along our footage, or click on the scrubber bar, which is the blue in the middle of the screen that we've just clicked on, and that allows us to scrub through our footage. That's very handy sometimes and also very annoying sometimes, so we'll have a look at when it's best to use that. So we can scrub through our footage and ignore the timeline and move the header around to wherever we want to work. Today we're going to look at all of our tools, so if you can find the blue arrow, you can then work with our different tools. The arrow itself is the selector tool. It's very important if you want to be able to use the inspector, if you want to be able to affect any footage, that you select it. And when it's selected, it has that yellow line around the whole piece, and that allows us to manipulate our footage as long as we've got it selected. There's trim tool, position tool, but let's work on the blade tool first. It's the most fun tool. There's going to be times where you film things you don't particularly want. Look at your footage, and this is when the scrubber bar is really handy to use. Choose the spot at which you'd like to start your selection. Bring your header across. You can scrub across where you've got it. Choose exactly where you'd like to cut your footage. And then, of course, you can choose the end point as well. And once again, cut it. I'll cut it here where we find the student with the banana costume. We then must remember to go back and choose the arrow key. Otherwise, you'll continue cutting your footage. Now, if you use your selector tool or the arrow key, you'll end up with a yellow line around just the area you've selected. If you select the bit at the beginning, you can now delete that simply by clicking on the delete key once it's selected. We'll go back again. This time we're going to have a look at the selection tool. And once again, it allows you to choose a section of your footage. You can affect a section only using that particular tool. It also, of course, means you can delete parts you don't want without even using the blade tool. The zoom allows us to, of course, zoom in. If we want to cut more finely, if we want to find the exact point at which we want to cut it, you can use the zoom tool. Both the bar down the bottom of the screen with the minus and plus signs or the zoom tool allows us to make our footage easier to see or compact it so we can see the whole project. You also have the hand tool, which is good when we're selecting footage from our events library that we want to place into our project. You can do that using the hand tool. And once again, the footage is brought in. We don't want that extra, so we'll just select it by going back to the arrow key, put the yellow line around it to show it's selected, and delete. So that's just a few of the tools in our Final Cut Pro software that allows us to manipulate our project. The blade, the zoom, the hand tool, and of course they all have their shortcuts. A for arrow, B for blade, very logical, and you can learn those shortcuts later on. The three symbols next to the arrow allow us to position our footage depending upon which one we choose. The first one on the left-hand side allows us to place our footage where the header is. The middle one will allow us to put the footage in between clips. And the last one allows us to add footage to the end. All of these are simply helping us build our project by putting what we want, whether it be the video or just the audio, exactly where we want it in the project. Once again, all of these are available under the blue arrow in the middle of the screen, allowing us to build the basics of our project.